You get them for $15, and they go up to $126, and you sell them. And of course, everybody wanted them because it was a sure thing. There was no way you could lose money because every time one of these companies went public, they shot up by 500, 600, 700%. So there really was no way to lose money.
The great majority of the people that we saw on the roadshow bought the stock at the IPO and flipped it that same day or flipped it within a couple weeks.
O rei absoluto das ofertas públicas do Vale do Silício era o banqueiro Frank Quattrone. Ele ficou famoso no Morgan Stanley, onde em 95 entrou para a história das IPOs quando abriu o capital da Netscape. Quattrone foi dos primeiros banqueiros de Wall Street a montar escritório no Vale do Silício.
He was sort of this larger-than-life figure in the Valley who had some huge successes and was considered sort of outrageous and opinionated and aggressive and sort of swashbuckling. He has that swashbuckling reputation.
I think he really identified much more with the Silicon Valley entrepreneur than his investment banking cohorts back in New York.
Quattrone não quis falar conosco, mas os repórteres Randall Smith e Susan Pulliam do Wall Street Journal acompanham sua carreira desde os seus dias no banco Morgan Stanley até o Credit Suisse First Boston.
The thing that distinguished First Boston here is that they did have the foresight to hire the best technology banker in the business just before this enormous boom in technology stock issues. And it literally took the firm from being an also-ran in stock underwriting to the very top in the rankings. But the thing that people come back to most often when they talk about Frank Quattrone is control, that he's a control freak and wants to be involved in every step of the process.
The people at Morgan and Goldman had more of a conservative air, and Frank had more of like a venture capitalist himself. He has kind of a big personality, and you don't. It's not about CSFB; it's about Frank Quattrone.
Em 1998, Quattrone tinha aberto o capital de mais empresas do que qualquer outro banqueiro do Vale. Selecionadíssimo grupo de capitalistas de risco lhe apresentava as novas empresas e, em troca, participava das ofertas públicas. No Vale, eles eram conhecidos como os amigos de Frank.
Being a friend of Frank involved being either a venture capital executive or an executive of a company that was about to go public or was public or just to technology executives. But one of the perks of being a friend of Frank was you got to invest in some of his deals, or in some cases all of his deals.
What does that mean, you got to invest in his deals? Anybody can invest in his deals or not?
Well, no, I mean, I think in order to get, you and I, if we went to our broker and tried to get an IPO allocation, would be told, gee, maybe or probably not, but but a hedge fund that would generate a lot of commissions might have a chance to get an IPO allocation. And similarly, part of the process of being a client of Credit Suisse First Boston was that you would have a better shot at getting shares of some of these IPOs that were skyrocketing in price.
Can you give an example of that?
Well, VA Linux clearly is a case where one of Frank's best clients, Jay Hogue of TCV, Technology Crossover Ventures, got 50,000 shares, which is a pretty large allocation.
A TCV afirma que Jay Hogue recebeu sua colocação em dezembro de 99. Apesar de a TCV não ter financiado a VA Linux, Hogue era dos fornecedores que Quattrone queria favorecer. A IPO da VA Linux foi tremendo sucesso.
Well, one piece of evidence, VA Linux, LNUX, is up again this morning in
a colocação deu ao fundo de franchise da TCV o direito de comprar 50 mil cotas da VA Linux pelo preço de oferta.
This stock came public yesterday at $30 a share. And now it's at $262, according to Instinet.
As ações da VA Linux alcançaram a maior alta da história de Wall Street. A TCV investiu $1,5 milhão. No final do primeiro dia de negócios, o valor da colocação da TCV se aproximava dos 12 milhões.
Suddenly you get this huge surge where the stock leaps 7 times, creates $1 billion or $1.2 billion of market value. That's profit to the person who got the IPO allocation. And if you trace it out, I think you'll find anything that goes that high, almost all of it is flipped, because it just doesn't make sense almost not to. So effectively, the underwriter parceled out $1.2 billion of guaranteed profit to his clients. That's quite as you can imagine, that's a very nice thing to happen.
It's like legalized bribery. It's favor building. It's like taking someone out to lunch and paying for their meal. Now, that's okay, but if you gave me a yacht, that would probably not be okay.
Hogue recusou-se a falar especificamente sobre a VA Linux, mas defende o processo de colocação das IPOs.
The specific allocation of how IPOs happens is the investment bank's business. Why we, have been allocated shares, again, we have an ongoing, we're generating trading commissions because of the franchise fund with a whole variety of investment banks. So in some cases, we don't get IPO allocations because they say now, based upon the criterion we're making for allocations, you're not big enough to warrant it. In other cases where we're an important, perhaps, generating trading commissions or other things, we do.
People tend to focus on the period where it seemed right, like every IPO was going up 100 or 200%. We can tell you many times, including the very first IPO that TCV was involved with a little company called Saville Systems, where we placed our order for the IPO and got our IPO shares and watched the stock drop 20% in about an hour and a half.
Mas, na TCV, isso raramente acontecia. Segundo a revista Fortune, a TCV só perdeu dinheiro em 2 das 76 empresas nas quais investiu entre 95 e 99. Em alguns casos, investidores privilegiados, como a TCV, tinham a opção de comprar pelo preço de emissão, depois que a ação já havia começado a subir.
In one case in particular, I can remember getting a call toward the end of the first day of trading for a company. They had priced the IPO at $13. It was trading. You could look at your Quotron screen and say, it was trading at $40. And you get a call from the investment banker saying, would you like 5,000 shares of this company? Hello?
At what price?
Well, at $13. You can buy it because there's still this allocation, this stock, this IPO stock, that isn't fully allocated yet. So you can buy it at 13 when it's selling right there in your Quotron at 42.
So the investment banker has offered you free money.
You get a call, absolutely. And you can sell it and flip it right then and there.
I think underwriters' economic agendas started to determine who would get the stock. Instead of a situation where you're hired as an underwriter to place the stock with people who are going to be the long-term shareholder, when you get into volatile hot markets where you get this unusual first-day trading profit, there's a tremendous propensity to give that stock to your best clients. And they, in turn, sell it and take a quick profit. And then the long-term buyer, the guy who you want in the first place, ends up buying it at the volatile aftermarket price. And it happens only when you get into these really hot markets. But it also creates an atmosphere where an underwriter's sales force is, in effect, giving away guaranteed profit. And if you're giving away guaranteed profit, you probably, at some point in the food chain, are going to have some deal made that returns something to the underwriter.